Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us here this afternoon. Special thanks to Mark and Lisa Bates, who are hosting us in what is one of the most magical backyards in the city of St. Louis, at least that I've ever visited. Today, of course, I will be signing Board Bill 60. So it is the culmination, of course, but really it is just the final piece of a very thorough process involving many people, stakeholders, legislators, and folks who have been involved in this process. I want to especially thank Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, who's been a great champion of this legislation to allow accessory dwelling units in the city of St. Louis. Our office has worked closely with her, President Green, and many members of the Board of Aldermen here behind me, the St. Louis Realtors, and the AARP for getting us here today. I also want to point out that our planning staff and planning commission have invested a very significant amount of time and expertise and energy into helping our city develop the best possible accessory dwelling unit legislation. And of course, all of the legislative assistants here for the Board of Aldermen have also done an enormous amount of work to help us get to where we are here today. So a big round of applause for everybody. It was a huge team effort. This bill will allow accessory dwelling units, which is another positive step for our city to get rid of barriers to building, offer more housing options, including options that are affordable to low-income residents, and make it possible for people whose homes were destroyed by the tornado to put a solid roof over their head and an accessory dwelling unit on their property while they rebuild and repair their homes. ADUs, accessory dwelling units, like the one behind us here today, have several great uses. They can bring closer an aging family member. They can allow your young adult children some independence, even if they're not ready to completely live on their own. They provide inexpensive housing options for renters who may or may not need much space, or in the case of this beautiful accessory dwelling, have an enormous amount of space. And of course, they can provide supplemental income to homeowners who may not want to rent out a room in their home, but want to open up their home or their lovely gardens to additional folks to share their home with. Allowing accessory dwelling units, we also remove red tape and allow staff persons, the professionals that we employ within our city, and those boards to have previously dealt with individual variance requests to spend their time on other things. Allowing accessory dwelling units won't turn around decades of population decline, of course, but it is reform like this that makes it easier, faster, and less expensive to build a variety of housing, making it possible for us to get back on track and really provide a path to increasing density, increasing population within the footprint of our existing structures. Given the tornado and the urgent need for housing in our city, the need for this type of reform has never been clearer. So thank you so much for this. I just want to also say that we know that our city has been very slow to embrace high quality urban living and density. And so this is just a real true step in the right direction. This isn't done in a vacuum. Earlier this year, similar bills came before my desk, which I signed, including Alderman Cohn's bill to reduce the minimum lot size, Alderwoman Velasquez's bill to modernize occupancy limits, increasing the occupancy capacity of homes. These are smart, deliberate pieces of legislation. I really have to, again, thank the Board of Alderpersons, the Planning Commission, the planning staff for moving not only on these issues, but moving with urgency and thoughtfulness, which is really, really a tough thing to balance. So your professionalism and your expertise in these issues have really, really been extraordinary in helping us getting these not only across the finish line, but within record speed, I would say, given the urgency of the tornado. This is what St. Louis needs to become a booming city once again, and I really just can't thank enough the partners here involved in making this happen today. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, the sponsor, and the president of the board, I'd like to invite you up to say a few words about this important piece of legislation.
Thank you, Mayor Spencer. I first want to start off by thanking Alderwoman Clark Hubbard for her dedication to this issue. I think the first time the board bill was introduced on this issue was maybe 3 years ago. So thank you to your persistence in fighting for this to get it over the finish line. We would not be here today without her. I also want to acknowledge Mayor Spencer, AARP, the St. Louis Realtors Association for their longstanding advocacy over many years to expand housing options in our city. You know, I am one of those folks who grew up in a multi-generational household. I was lucky to have a grandma who lived on site with us, and it was wonderful. You know, she got to spoil me when my parents, would reprimand me for things. And so who would want to ever deny their children that opportunity, right? So being able to add ADUs by right in our city makes it possible for more people to be able to grow up like I did, to have, that grandparent that is able to live on site with them and provide those extra caretaking duties. It's not a secret that St. Louis, like many cities across the country, is experiencing housing shortages and rising housing prices. And we know these challenges have only gotten worse after the May 16th tornado. So meeting the needs of residents across our city requires us to rethink how we address this issue. And I am so proud that today we are cutting red tape in favor of creating more density in our city and really returning our urban fabric back to what it used to be. Housing density and diversity are essential to maintaining housing prices and making it affordable for residents to stay in our city and grow our tax base long term. I also want to make sure that I thank our planning division for working with the Board of Aldermen to create a process to prioritize issues like this when, alder people or the community come forth and say, hey, we really want to see you do something, and really lending their expertise to helping to shape these regulations to get something together that we can all be very proud of. That partnership is key as we continue to move forward and work to modernize how our city supports the people who live, work, and play here. I'm just excited that this is the most recent of zoning changes that we've been doing in this city to promote density, make it easier to develop, and make it easier for folks to live in this city. So thank you so much to everybody who is involved.
And I would just like to continue the gratitude. I actually don't want to stand up here without Eminem. Miriam, if you both can come up here with me and stand with me. I want to take a time to publicly thank Miriam and Mary. Is Mary? Come up here, Mary. Please come up here, Mary. Because let me tell you, publicly thank them for not making me feel like I was getting on their nerves. When I ambitiously brought this bill forward in 2023, and Mary quickly called me up to her office. I'm gonna get you out the sun, Mary. So
Thank you.
Quickly called me out the office and called me up to the office and said, "That's not quite how this goes." And then I knew directly who to call. The relationships that have been built and the work that they do is immeasurable. So I want to thank them. Thank you all. Thank you to AARP, Ms. Helm, who I sent out an APB out in the community about. I remember our first meeting, and the St. Louis Realtors who are represented here as well. Thank you all. We know the value about this, and we're in a beautiful space today. But listen, as the alderperson for the 10th Ward, it's not missed on me that while this is a luxury and an amenity to some, right now for some of my constituents, it's a need. They don't have anywhere else to go. Their homes have been devastated by the tornado. So they're living in their garages not by choice, but by necessity. And having this be now a pathway forward for them, taking away the barriers, taking away those additional steps that cost more money, if nothing else, and more time, is what's going to make the difference. And I know that while I was as excited as in 2023 was about it, I know now in my heart that this was the right time that we did it, and we did this, and now we properly inform our constituents about this process. You still have to go through the building division, Mr. Witter. You still have to make sure it's safe, right? You can't just wake up in the morning and build one. We want to make sure we keep you all safe, but again, the opportunity that's presented now in addition to all of the other valuable pieces that comes with accessory dwelling units. I'm just excited about it. Thank you. I thank my colleagues and Mayor Spencer for being so amenable to this. Again, listen, if it's something that the city of St. Louis wills the government to teach you, it's patience and how to manage your expectations, right? And so this was fast track. And I appreciate that, even though it seems like it was a long time, now was the time. So thank you all, and I'm grateful for us to be here today under this beautiful space. Thank you to you all for us to celebrate this win for St. Louis.